Hello everyone. Today we will be exploring the tracing method to build vector illustrations. This technique is my preferred way to create imagery in Adobe Illustrator, and hopefully the last few sessions have given you a bit more confidence in the program and with the pen tool. So today we'll continue with the pen tool, but just use it in a slightly different manner. I will also look at using colors in Adobe Illustrator, and after the class you should have all the techniques to build your illustration. After this class, you should be able to build a simple limited color illustration similar to a silkscreen print using geometric shapes, the paper cutout, and tracing method. Adjusting the color will help you refine your illustration. I prefer to use this method as it feels like inking and I can base my illustration on refined pencil drawing. The ink in this method would be making paths. After I finish inking, I then have the option to play around with strokes and colors to refine the illustration. I always start this method with a refined drawing, and I place it into a new document. You can draw on paper and scan it, or import it in from a program like Procreate. Remember that it's helpful to use a drawing that matches pretty close to the paths you plan to trace. Alright, so I'm going to start with making a new document to place my refined drawing into. So this time around, I'm thinking I would want to print it out on a letter-sized piece of paper, but I also want to post it on Instagram, which is square. So I will take a letter, which is 8.5 by 11, but I want square, so I'm just going to turn it 8.5 by 8.5, and I'll hit OK and create. And then I will cut and paste my image that I will use to reference. All right, now that I've pasted in my image, I'm going to fit it to the composition just so it's closer to the final composition. So I'll just make it a little bigger and to fill up the frame. And then after I place my image, I'm going to lower the opacity just so I can trace on it a little bit easier. And then I'm going to make another layer for my line work and make this layer my reference layer. So let me rename this one reference, and I will lock it as I don't want to touch it anymore. And then I'm going to make a new layer on top, and I'll call this one line work. After I've done that, then I can start tracing. So I'll just start with selecting my pen tool, and then I'm just going to make the fill color to be set to none, and then just have a simple black stroke right here at just the default 1 point. So after I've set all that up, then I can just start tracing. So just like I said before, I like to start at a corner. So at this point, maybe I'll just start with this area right here, and I'll just move up the face. So using this method, you don't actually need to close any paths. So you just kind of treat it as you would just tracing with an actual pen and ink. And then later we will use the shape builder tool to extract the shapes. So we'll just continue tracing and refining our paths as we go. So remember, we want to just keep really nice smooth paths while still kind of keeping the same qualities of the drawing. This might take a while, so I'll just skip forward ahead and then you'll see the final tracing. The good thing about this method is that you can also use geometric shapes. So right here, I'm just going to draw a circle. And don't worry if it overlaps a little bit. I will just try to fit it in. And then we can try to make sure that the paths overlap or at least land on the path a little bit. To get a clearer look, just turn on outline mode, and then you should be able to see if it's close enough. So let's zoom in and just take a look. Yeah, that should work. All right, so now that we have finished tracing, we can use the shape builder tool to fill in the color. I like to keep my lines though, just in case I ever need to go back to it. So what I like to do is I just like to copy this line work layer and then use that to use the shape building on. So I'll just take the line work layer and I'll drag it onto my new layer panel and it'll make a copy. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lock this one. I'm going to turn off the visibility, and I'll also turn off the visibility of my reference too, since I don't need it. And I will rename this one to flat color. All right, and then from here, I will select everything, and then I'll just proceed to use my shape builder tool and just fill it in with some default swatches to block in my color, and then we'll refine the colors later on. So again, I'm just going to use the shape builder tool to fill in the color. So I will just select all my shapes again, and then now I can just select default colors and then just start filling it in. So in this sense, when we want to make a limited color image, so we'll just use a few colors and not overcomplicate it. So yeah, let's start with the blue, and then let's use some highlight colors for the little highlights here. Now that I've blocked in all the colors, I can begin refining the illustration. I'm going to start off with refining the colors and using global colors. So let's start off and look at selecting colors. There are two approaches to selecting colors. The first method is to use select in your menu bar, and then you can select the same fill color, stroke color, and a whole other host of options. This time, I want to get rid of all these stray sort of black bits right here. So they have only a black stroke and with no fill. So what I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to go to select. You can either select this or you can select a specific object. So you can just select one of the stray points and then hit select, hit same because we want to match the same attributes throughout. And then we're going to go fill and stroke. So we want every object with a black stroke and a transparent fill. So fill and stroke, and then you can see that now all the little things that haven't been filled in yet we can delete. So I see that this eyebrow is being selected, and I don't want that one selected. So I'm just going to hold shift and deselect it. And then I'm also going to deselect this circle right here. And then from there, I'll just hit delete. Oh, I might want to keep the nose, so undo, and then I'll deselect the nose, and I'll hit delete. So that should leave us with all of the stray points deleted. So we can just fix up a few things here and there, just like that one, give that a bit of a fill using the eyedropper tool. And that should work out. And now let's look at the second method. So the second method is the magic wand tool right up here. So this selects, instead of the same color, selects color within a range. So if I click on this one, you can see it'll select all of the nearby colors, but you can see that it's not the exact same color, which is why this fill color here turns into a question mark. We can reduce the range by double clicking on the tool, and then a little panel will pop up, and then you can kind of see that right now select the fill color and the tolerance is 32. If we turn this all the way down to 0, then we'll only select one specific color. But if we want to select a little bit more, like take it back to 32, you'll see that it selects more than one color. And then if I apply a new color to it, say this brown, you can see that selected all the darker shades of the flesh tone as well. So we will use this one, and then we're going to use a host of these methods to create some global color swatches. And now I'll just use my magic wand tool, but this time I'll turn the tolerance down to 0 just to select the same color, just because I'm going to start with a flesh tone and those seem kind of similar. So I'll select this one, the main flesh tone, and then you can see that this one pops up. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to double click it, the swatch panel, and then the swatch panel will open up. And then you'll see that there are some options, but there's this one global checkbox that we can check, and we can also check on preview. So if we click on these two, then if we make any changes to the color, it'll automatically adjust. So I'm going to hit OK. And then right now, I'm going to deselect my colors. And then with everything deselected, I'm going to re-click on my swatch, and I'm just going to adjust it. So this time around, I will just turn up the filter here. And then with the preview on, you can see that even though the objects haven't been selected, any update or modifications to the swatch color will automatically update any object with it. So that's actually a really handy thing if you want to just play around with color. So we'll just hit OK, and then we'll do that to the rest of our colors. And then we'll make a new folder with all the colors in the illustrations. So I will make a new folder right here. So again, just click anywhere on your swatch panel, and then you can click on a folder, and the folder will make a new folder to where you can contain our swatches. And then I guess it just moved right in there, but we'll try to do that again. So this time, let's select all the dark blue hair color. So we'll select this one, and then let's move it into our folder. And then with everything still selected, we're just gonna click on it, and then we'll hit global, and then we can hit OK. And then we'll do the same for these ones. You can see that's all selected here. I'll just drag that here, and then I'll hit global as well. And then you'll see that your global colors has a little bit of a triangle on the lower right corner, which means that it's a global color. All right, so now let's choose a lighter highlight tone for the flesh tone. And then I'm just gonna move that before that, and then I will select that, hit global color. And then I think finally I have these sort of aquamarine colors for the earrings and the eyes. And I'll click on that. I'll hit global here. And then I will choose this one and then move that down. And I believe that is all my colors. So let's start refining the colors. Right now, I'm going to start with adjusting the blue. I'm not going to select anything because it's a global color, and I'll automatically adjust. And then I'll just zoom out so I can see my overall composition. And then I'm going to click on the dark blue swatch color, and then I'm just going to change it. So for me, there are a few ways we can adjust the color. Remember to click preview first. There are RGB, HSB, CMYK. Those are sort of the main ways you can change your color. RGB is the screen color mode, and it's subtractive. So you can use RGB. But I find that it's a little bit hard to anticipate since the color mode is subtractive because with light. And then there's CMYK, but CMYK is generally used for print, and it actually has a smaller range than RGB. And when it comes to illustration, I think it's good to have the widest possibility of colors possible. So usually I refrain from using CMYK until the printing process, because CMYK is used for print. So the option I most like to use is HSB, which stands for hue, saturation, and brightness. So with these ones, you can really have a little bit of finesse when you adjust your colors. So I want a bit of a darker color for the hair, and then also want it to be slightly, not too bright. Maybe I'll bring down the saturation a bit, and then maybe I'll just adjust the colors a bit. So I like it in green, so maybe a dark indigo would be nice. Just like that. And then you can go between the fields just by hitting up or down, and tab to go through each of the fields, and then just click up or down to adjust the values. And then you can use that to slightly adjust your values and your color. So once you're happy with something, then you hit OK, and then you can move on to the other colors. So now I will move on to the color of the highlights. And I'm finding that the highlights are just a little too bright, so I'll click on the lighter blue. And now click on preview. And then I'm going to reduce the saturation So this time I'll just do it in the number fields and then just bring it down. So you can see at gray, it's looking a little bit nicer, and maybe I will shift it down to a bit more greenish blue to match sort of the hue of the darker hair. All right, and then from here, I might want to change the skin tone now. The skin tone's not bad, but it's just a little bit too saturated, so I'll just bring it down. Bring down the saturation. Oh, and remember to click preview, just like that. So just like that, and maybe I'll make it a little bit warmer. And maybe I will make it a little bit brighter. Maybe still a too red, so right about there. And then now with the highlight colors, I'll just do exactly the same. And then I will turn up the brightness this time. And then I will reduce the saturation. And then make sure that the hue is in the right area. Yeah, so just like that. And then finally, I will, oh, I did not do the shadow. So I still have a few steps left. So I'll click on this one, and I'll keep on adding these ones to my skin tone and refine from here. So hit preview. And then, yeah, a little bit red like that, maybe a little bit darker, not too dark. And then just take down the saturation a little bit, hit OK. And then let us select these colors right here. And these will be our darker shadows. Double click there. And then this time we'll just lower the value right there. And then remember to hit preview to get a good look of it. And hit OK. All right, so I'll deselect everything. And then we can fine tune and finesse as we go. And finally, I will just adjust these colors for the earrings. So you can actually go pretty, to make some drastic changes if you like. So say the green is not what I'm looking for. Maybe I want something a little bit more dramatic. So maybe, yeah, maybe gold sounds like an interesting approach. And then for this one, I'll just try to match that. Just like that. All right. So I'll hit OK. And then now I'll finish finessing with the illustration. So now I will just fine tune my illustration. The great thing about vector illustrations is that you can sort of play around with the stroke and fill options. So for instance, I might want to get rid of all the fill colors and just have all the stroke colors to be black, and then just fill everything with maybe white. So we can kind of see what it looks like that, or with any other color as a fill. So you can see that, and then you can play around with that. Or in the opposite direction, we can get rid of all the stroke color. So this time we'll just turn that to none, and then you can see everything's black. We're just going to turn that to none. And I find that looks quite nice. We can still go back in and sort of adjust the colors a little bit, but looks pretty good to me. Before we do that, I lost the eyebrows. So what I can do is I can go into outline mode. So again, it is Control Y. And I'm just going to select my eyebrows that I drew. And then I'm going to just bring them up to the front. So object, arrange, and bring to front. And then they're still transparent, so I might have to add a stroke to it. And then, yeah, so now we can see that we have some eyebrows. They're a little wonky looking. I can always adjust it, but for now it's okay. And then I'm finding that the highlights are a little bit dark, or a little bit bright, I mean. So I will go back into my swatch color, and I'm just going to take them down a little bit. So brightness will be down a little bit more, and then saturation can go back up. All right, and now I will just finalize it by adjusting my eyebrows. So this one, what we can do is we'll select our eyebrow tool, and we'll just use a stroke weight tool on it. So here, I'm going to increase the stroke on it, and then I'm also giving it a round cap to just make it look a little nicer. And then I'll just use the stroke weight tool to just give it a little bit more interest. So just like that. And then maybe right here, I will do the same thing. So we'll just select this eyebrow, just like that. Maybe make it a little bit wider, give it a round cap, just like that. And then I will just go in with my stroke weight tool, stroke width tool, this one right here. And then I will just select somewhere in the middle of the stroke to just sort of adjust it a little bit, and then maybe even make the endpoints a little bit bigger, just like that. And that looks kind of nice, a little bit strange, but in a good way. Maybe I will actually delete the last point of the eyebrow and see how it looks. Oh, that looks nice. Yeah, and then maybe I will adjust this path by just shortening it. So how to do that? You can just use your pen tool, and then on the path, just add another anchor point, and then delete the lower one, and then yeah, that looks pretty good, just like that. So now let us play around with it a little bit more. All right, so now let's add a background color. So usually what I like to do is I just like to make a new layer, call it background, and then just draw a shape, and then just fill the screen, fill the frame with the color. And I'll just select the fill color, and then we can just choose anything that we like. So maybe just a soft gray. Again, we can just turn this into a global color. So I'll just drag it down here. I'll double click on it, turn it to a global color, hit preview, and also I'll just actually turn my background into that. And then we can adjust the color. So make sure the background is selected, or make sure the background has a global color on it, and then you can just play around with it from there. So hit preview, and then we can just play around with it. So I think the gray was kind of nice, but what's great about the sliders is that you can just click up or down until you kind of find a color that you think suits the tone of your image. So for me, I think this green looks quite nice, and then we can play around with the saturation and brightness. All right, so with that, we can just lock the background, and we can save our file. And if we like, we can actually select everything, group it together, just in case we want to move it. In this case, I don't, but we'll always move it as once. And then now we can export it as an image for any of our social media like Instagram. So in this sense, because I only have one board, I like to use Save for Web. And then because we have really limited color, you can see, it's quite small, but you can notice on the size, it's only 612. So we actually want that to be 1080 by 1080. And again, because it's vector illustrations, you can blow it up as large as you want at this point, and then export it, and you won't lose any resolution. So here the GIF looks pretty good. Oh, you can kind of see in the middle that the black doesn't quite look quite nice. So maybe we'll turn it up to 64. And then yeah, that looks really nice. So you can see it's a little bit bigger, 34K versus 31, but that's almost negligible. So we'll just hit save, and then save it to our file, and then we can use that to upload, just like that. All right, I hope that gives you an idea of how you can create a vector illustration. In the next class, we'll explore clipping masks and compound paths. So thanks for watching, and see you next time.